This plane is going to crash, Angel screamed, her voice echoing through the cabin. We're all going to You have to get off. Get off now. You all have zero. I can see it. The numbers above your heads, they all say zero. That means you're going to die. We're all going to die if this plane takes off. A year later, when Angel was 6, we had another incident that really drove home both the power and the weight of what my daughter could see. We'd taken the bus into the city to buy some supplies. Money was still tight, but we were doing better than we had been. My father had steady work now at a local farm, and my mother had found a position at the small elementary school in Millbrook. We weren't rich by any means, but we were surviving. That was something. Angel was sitting by the window, watching the scenery pass by, when she suddenly turned to me with worried eyes. "Mommy," she whispered, "that man." I followed her gaze to a middle-aged man sitting a few rows ahead of us. He was dressed in a rumpled suit, and even from behind, I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he hunched forward like he was carrying the weight of the world. "What about him, baby?" "He has 3 days. And he looks so sad, Mommy. Really, really sad." I studied the man more carefully. She was right. Everything about his posture screamed despair. "What do you want me to do?" "Talk to him. Please, maybe we can help." When we got off at our stop, I noticed the man getting off too. Before I could second-guess myself, I approached him. "Excuse me, sir?" He turned, and I could see his eyes were red-rimmed, like he'd been crying, or like he hadn't slept in days, maybe both. "Yes? This is going to sound strange, but I noticed you on the bus and you looked really sad. Are you okay?" He stared at me for a long moment, clearly surprised by the question from a complete stranger. Then Angel stepped forward, taking his hand in her tiny one. "Don't be sad," she said in her sweet, clear voice. "Everything is going to be okay. I promise." Something in the man's face crumbled. "No," he said, his voice breaking. "It's not going to be okay. Nothing is going to be okay ever again." "Why not?" Angel asked with all the innocent curiosity of a 6-year-old. The man looked at her, then at me, then back at her. And suddenly it was like a dam broke inside him. "I lost my job," he said, the words tumbling out. "Lost all my savings in some bad investments. Gambling, really, if I'm being honest. I'm drowning in debt. My wife left me, took the kids. They won't even talk to me anymore. And I can't do this anymore. I can't keep going." He reached into his jacket pocket with shaking hands and pulled out a bottle of pills. My heart stopped. "I bought these today," he said quietly, staring at the bottle. "I was planning to end it tonight. I have everything planned out, a note written, everything in order. I can't see any other way out." "No," Angel said firmly, her little voice surprisingly strong. "You can't do that. That's not the answer." "Kid, you don't understand." "I do understand," Angel interrupted, which she'd been taught never to do to adults, but right now I wasn't about to correct her. "You're sad, and things are hard, really hard, but giving up isn't brave. Keeping going is brave. Fighting even when it's hard, that's what makes you strong." The man stared at her, and then he started crying. Right there in the middle of the sidewalk, this grown man broke down in tears, his shoulders shaking with sobs. I put my hand on his shoulder, and Angel hugged his leg. "I lost everything," he sobbed. "Everything. My family, my home, my career, my dignity. I have nothing left." "So did we," I said softly, surprising myself with the admission. "We lost our house, our jobs, our entire life. Had to move to a tiny town hours away and start over from scratch. My parents had to work jobs they never imagined doing. I had to drop out of college. But we made it. We're still here. And you can make it too." "I don't know how," he whispered. "One day at a time," I said. "That's all any of us can do. One day at a time, We stood there with him for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes just talking. I told him about our story, the edited version, leaving out the parts about Angel's gift and Timothy's identity. Just the basics. We'd lost everything, but we'd survived. He told us his story about the gambling addiction he had hidden from everyone, about the bad investments that were really just him throwing money away at casinos and horse races, about how he'd pushed away everyone who loved him with his lies and his desperation. "I'm not a good person," he said finally. "You're a person who made mistakes," I corrected gently. "That doesn't make you bad. It makes you human. We all make mistakes. The question is what you do next." Angel tugged on his sleeve. "Can I give you a hug?" The man looked down at her, and fresh tears spilled down his cheeks. He crouched down to her level, and Angel threw her little arms around his neck. "Don't be sad anymore," she whispered in his ear. "Everything is going to be fine. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but it will be. You just have to keep going, okay?" The man nodded, unable to speak. When he finally pulled away and stood up, he looked at both of us like we were angels sent from heaven. Maybe in a way we were. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. He held out the pill bottle to me. Will you take this? Please, I don't trust myself with it." I took the bottle, and the weight of it in my hand felt like the weight of a life saved. "What's your name?" I asked. "David," he said. "David is Chen." "David, I want you to promise me something. Promise me you'll go home tonight. That you'll throw away any notes you've written. That you'll call someone, a friend, a family member, a therapist, anyone, and tell them you need help." "I promise," he said, and I believed him. We exchanged phone numbers, and I made him promise to text me later to let me know he was okay. He did text around 10 p.m. "I'm home." I called my sister. She's coming to stay with me for a while. "Thank you for saving my life today. You and your daughter are guardian angels." I showed the text to Angel before she went to bed. "You did good today, baby," I told her, kissing her forehead. "Do I get ice cream?" she asked, grinning. I laughed. "You just saved a man's life and you want ice cream?" "I was a good girl. Good girls get ice cream. You shouldn't expect rewards for doing good things, Angel." "I know, Mommy, but I still want ice cream." I couldn't argue with that logic. "Fine. Tomorrow, after dinner." She pumped her fist in victory, and I smiled despite everything. My daughter had just saved a life, and she was still just a kid who wanted ice cream. As the months passed, I kept working on rebuilding my life and my career prospects. I'd finished my degree online while raising Angel and working part-time jobs. It had taken me 8 years instead of 4, taking 1 or 2 classes at a time whenever I could afford it and had the energy. But I'd done it. I had my bachelor's degree in communications, and I was determined to use it. I applied for jobs steadily, sending out resumes, doing phone interviews, hoping that something, anything would work out. Most places never called back. The ones that did usually offered positions that paid barely above minimum wage. But then in late spring, when Angel was 6, I got a call that changed everything. "Miss Marcus? This is Jennifer Walsh from Pinnacle Marketing in Chicago. We received your application for the junior marketing coordinator position, and we'd love to have you come in for an interview." Chicago, a real job at a real marketing company. My hands were shaking as I wrote down the details. The interview was in 2 weeks. They'd reserved a slot for me at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. I'd have to fly there. It was too far to drive, and they wanted to interview me the same day, not willing to put me up in a hotel overnight. Flying meant money we didn't really have, but this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. My parents helped me scrape together enough for a plane ticket. It was the cheapest flight I could find, leaving early in the morning and coming back that evening. "You can do this," my mother said, hugging me tight the night before. "This is your chance, Maya. Your chance to build something better for you and Angel." I wanted to believe her. I really did. Mommy, take me with you, Angel said the morning of my flight. I was packing a small bag with my interview outfit and some documents, double checking that I had everything I needed. Baby, I'm just going for an interview. I'll be back by evening. It's just one day. But I want to come. I want to see the plane. I've never been on a plane before. That was true. We'd never traveled since moving to Millbrook 7 years ago. Never had the money for trips or vacations. Angel had never experienced so many things that other kids took for granted. And it was summer break. She didn't have school. My parents could watch her, but I looked at her excited face, her eyes bright with hope and curiosity, and I couldn't say no. Okay, I said, but you have to promise to behave. This interview is really important, Angel, really important. I promise I'll be so good, Mommy, the best. So I bought her a ticket too, using the last of our emergency savings. We were going to Chicago together. The morning of the flight, we woke up early. Angel was so excited she could barely sit still in the car on the way to the airport. We're going on a plane, Mommy. A real plane. How high do we go? Can we see the clouds? Will we go through them or over them? What if we see birds? Do birds fly as high as planes? I answered her questions as best I could, my own stomach fluttering with nerves. Not about the flight, about the interview. This was my shot, my chance to finally build something better for us, to prove that dropping out of college hadn't been the end of my story, just a detour. We got to the airport 2 hours early, just to be safe. Angel's eyes were huge as we walked through the terminal. Everything's so big, she kept saying. Look at all the people. Look at all the planes. We checked our bags, just one small carry-on for both of us. Went through security, which Angel thought was simultaneously cool and scary. Made our way to the gate. Angel pressed her nose against the window, watching the planes take off and land. That one's ours? She asked, pointing. That's ours, I confirmed. When they called for boarding, Angel practically dragged me down the jetway, bouncing on her toes with excitement. We found our seats, 17C and 17D, halfway down the plane, and Angel immediately claimed the window seat. I get to see the clouds, she announced happily. I helped her buckle her seatbelt, showed her where the safety information card was, pointed out the emergency exits like you're supposed to. The plane filled up around us. Business people in expensive suits, their faces buried in laptops and phones. Families with crying toddlers. A few solo travelers with headphones already in, clearly ready to tune out the world for the next few hours. Normal Thursday morning flight. Nothing special. Just another plane full of people going about their lives. The flight attendants came through, checking that seats were upright, tray tables were stowed, bags were properly stored overhead. We'll be taking off shortly, one of them announced cheerfully. Please make sure all electronic devices are turned off or set to airplane mode. I pulled out my phone to switch it over, still smiling at Angel's excitement. That's when I noticed she'd gone very still. Very, very still. Angel, I said, nudging her gently. What's wrong, baby? She didn't answer. Her eyes were moving slowly around the cabin, and I recognized that look, that intense, focused look she got when she was reading someone's timer. And then her face went pale, deathly pale. Mommy, she whispered, and her voice was shaking. Mommy, something's wrong. My heart started to pound. What do you mean? What's wrong? Her eyes met mine, and what I saw there made my blood run cold. Pure, unadulterated terror. Mommy, she said, her voice barely audible over the noise of the cabin. Everybody has zero. I stopped breathing. What? Everybody, Mommy. Everybody on this plane, every single person, they all have zero on their heads. All of them. Even the pilots. I looked up front and I saw them through the door. Zero, zero, zero. Everywhere I look, zero. My hands started trembling. This couldn't be happening. Baby, are you sure? Maybe you're seeing it wrong. Maybe. Mommy, I'm not seeing it wrong. Her voice was rising now, panic bleeding through. Something bad is going to happen to this plane. Something really, really bad. We have to get off. We have to warn everyone. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Angel, keep your voice down. Mommy, we're all going to die. She was starting to hyperventilate now, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. If we stay on this plane, we're going to die. Everyone is going to die. People were starting to look at us now. I could feel their eyes, their judgment, their annoyance. Ma'am, is everything all right? A flight attendant appeared beside our row, her professional smile starting to look strained. Yes, everything's fine, I said quickly, desperately. My daughter just gets nervous about flying. First time on a plane and all that. Oh, how sweet. The flight attendant bent down to Angel's level, her smile brightening. Don't worry, honey. Flying is the safest way to travel. Nothing to be scared of at all. But, Angel started, her voice shrill with panic. I put my hand over her mouth gently. She'll be fine. Thank you. The flight attendant nodded and moved on to check on other passengers. Angel, listen to me, I whispered urgently, leaning close to her ear. Are you absolutely 100% certain about what you're seeing? She nodded frantically, tears starting to stream down her face. Mommy, I've never been wrong. Not once, and I've never seen this before. I've never seen everybody with zero at the same time. Something terrible is going to happen. Something really, really bad. We can't get on this plane. We can't. My mind was racing. We were already on the plane. We were already seated. The doors would be closing any minute. They were about to push back from the gate. What was I supposed to do? Just stand up and demand they let us off because my 6-year-old daughter could see death timers above everyone's heads? They'd think I was insane. They'd probably call security. But what if she was right? She'd never been wrong before. Not once, not ever. Okay, I said, making a split-second decision. Okay, baby. It's going to be okay. It's just a 1-hour flight. Nothing can happen in 1 hour. The pilots have done this thousands of times. The plane was checked before we boarded. Everything is going to be fine, I promise. Even as I said the words, I didn't believe them. Mommy, no. Angel, please. I was trying to keep my voice calm, but my heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it might break through. You need to calm down. We're going to be fine. Just breathe with me, okay? In and out, in and out. But Angel wasn't listening anymore. She was staring around the cabin with wide, terrified eyes, looking at all the passengers who had no idea what she could see hovering above their heads. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain's voice came over the intercom. This is your captain speaking. We've been cleared for takeoff. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for departure. The flight attendants started their safety demonstration at the front of the plane. In the unlikely event of a water landing, your seat cushion can be used as a flotation device. Mommy, Angel whimpered, her whole body starting to shake. Shh, baby. It's okay. Everything is okay. But it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. The engines roared to life. The plane started moving, backing away from the gate. Angel's breathing was getting faster and faster. She was starting to hyperventilate, her face turning red, her hands gripping the armrest so hard her knuckles were white. Mommy, please. Please, we have to get off. We have to. Everyone, please fasten your seat belts, a flight attendant called out. We're about to push back. The plane turned, heading toward the runway. Angel was full-on panicking now, gasping for air, tears streaming down her face. I can't, Mommy, I can't, we have to. And then something inside her snapped. She unbuckled her seatbelt and jumped out of her seat, standing in the aisle. No, she screamed at the top of her lungs. Stop. Everybody listen to me. Oh God, no. The entire cabin went silent. Every single person turned to stare at us. This plane is going to crash, Angel Sparrow screamed, her voice echoing through the cabin. We're all going to die. You have to get off. Get off now. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Some people gasped. Some people started murmuring nervously to each other, looking around with wide eyes. But most people got angry. What the hell? A man in a business suit shouted from a few rows up. Someone control that child. Ma'am. A flight attendant was rushing toward us now, her face no longer professionally pleasant. You need to get your daughter under control immediately. Angel, please sit down, I said, trying to grab her, trying to pull her back into her seat. But Angel pulled away from me, running toward the front of the plane, her voice desperate and pleading. You all have 0. I can see it. The numbers above your heads, they all say 0. That means you're going to die. We're all going to die if this plane takes off. The cabin erupted into chaos. Jesus Christ, someone muttered. Is this some kind of prank? Another person asked. Get her off the plane, someone else shouted. A businessman stood up, his face red with rage. Madam, put your daughter on a leash before I do something nasty. I have a business meeting worth $1 million in the next hour, and I cannot afford to be 1 minute late. This flight has to take off now. Put your daughter on a leash or get off the flight, another passenger echoed. More and more people were joining in, their voices overlapping, creating a wall of sound that felt like it was crushing me. Yes, get them off. We're going to be late. This is ridiculous. I ran after Angel, finally catching her and wrapping my arms around her struggling form. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe, her whole body shaking with terror. I'm so sorry, I said to everyone. To no one, to the horrified flight attendants. I'm so sorry. She's just scared. She's never flown before, and she's scared. She's doing more than just being scared, the angry businessman shouted. She's causing a panic. My meeting. To hell with your meeting, an older woman interrupted. What if she's right? What if something really is wrong with the plane? Oh, please, another passenger scoffed. You're going to believe a 6-year-old having a tantrum. The plane had stopped moving now. The captain must have heard the commotion. A moment later, the cockpit door opened and the pilot himself came out, his face stern but trying to maintain calm. Ladies and gentlemen, please, he said, his voice authoritative. Everyone needs to calm down. I need you all to return to your seats. He looked at me and Angel, and I saw a mix of sympathy and frustration in his eyes. Ma'am, I understand your daughter is frightened. Flying can be scary, especially for children. But I assure you this aircraft has been thoroughly inspected. We do this flight multiple times a day, every day. Everything is in perfect working order. The weather is clear. There is absolutely no reason to be concerned. Please, I begged, and I could hear the desperation in my own voice. Please just let us off. You don't have to believe us. You don't have to listen to her. Just let me and my daughter off this plane, please. The pilot's expression softened slightly. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but we've already pulled back from the gate. We're in the queue for takeoff. We can't just turn around and go back now. We'd have to refile our flight plan, get back in line, delay everyone. Then delay everyone, I shouted, my fear overwhelming any sense of propriety. Something terrible is going to happen. Your daughter needs professional help, the businessman said coldly. And you need to be arrested for causing a public disturbance. This is unacceptable. How did she know about the inspection? A quiet voice said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at an elderly woman sitting in the third row. What? The pilot said. The little girl, the woman said, pointing at Angel. She said everyone was going to die. But you just said the aircraft has been thoroughly inspected. That's the exact phrase you used. How would a 6-year-old know that phrase unless... She trailed off, but the implication hung in the air. Unless nothing, the pilot said firmly, but I could see a flicker of something in his eyes. Uncertainty. It's a common phrase. She probably heard it in a movie or something. Look, I understand everyone is upset, but I promise you, this plane is safe. We are not going to crash. But what if she's right? someone else said, their voice trembling. She's not right, another passenger shouted. This is mass hysteria. This is ridiculous. Either get them off this plane so we can leave, or I'm calling my lawyer. The pilot looked at me, then at Angel, still sobbing in my arms, then back at me. I could see the calculation in his eyes, the weighing of options. Believe a hysterical 6-year-old and delay an entire flight, potentially causing a huge problem for the airline and getting himself in trouble. Or dismiss us as crazy and get everyone to their destination on time. I'm sorry, he said finally, and I could hear the regret in his voice even as he made his decision. But I'm going to have to ask you and your daughter to leave the aircraft. We can't have this kind of disruption during takeoff. It's a safety issue. Relief flooded through me so intensely I almost collapsed. Thank you, I gasped. Thank you so much. Don't thank me, he said quietly. Security will be meeting you at the gate. Given the disturbance you've caused, there may be consequences, but right now I need you off this plane so we can get these people to Chicago. I didn't care about consequences. I didn't care about anything except getting my daughter off this plane. The flight attendants escorted us back up the aisle. Every single passenger glared at us as we passed. Hope you're happy, someone muttered. Crazy people, another person said, not even trying to whisper. Should be locked up, a third person added. Angel kept her face buried in my shoulder, still sobbing, her little body shaking with terror and relief and exhaustion. We walked back up the jetway in complete humiliation. Security was waiting for us at the gate, just like the pilot had said. They asked us questions, took our information, made it very clear that we'd caused a serious disturbance and that there would be an investigation. We're going to have to put you on the no-fly list, one of them said, at least temporarily until this gets sorted out. I understand, I said numbly. They let us go eventually, probably because we clearly weren't actually dangerous, just embarrassing, just crazy. We collected our bag and stood in the terminal, watching through the window as the plane pushed back from the gate again, watching as it taxied toward the runway, watching as it accelerated down the tarmac, faster and faster, until it lifted into the sky and disappeared into the clouds. We should have been on that plane, I whispered, my voice barely audible even to myself. Angel was still crying, her face pressed against my shirt. I tried, Mommy. I tried to warn them. I know, baby, I said, stroking her hair with shaking hands. I know you did. We found some seats in a quiet corner of the terminal. I needed a minute or an hour to process what had just happened, to figure out what we were going to do now. My interview was in less than 2 hours. There was no way we were making it to Chicago now. That job, that opportunity, was gone. I just humiliated myself and my daughter in front of hundreds of people for nothing. The plane was fine. The pilot had said so. Everything was inspected and safe and... Mommy, are you angry? Angel asked in a small voice, pulling back to look at me. Her face was red and blotchy from crying. Did I make you angry? No, baby, I said, even though part of me was angry at the situation, angry at the loss of this opportunity, angry at how unfair all of this was. I'm not angry. I just need a minute to think. Okay? Okay, Mommy. We sat there in silence. Angel leaned against me, exhausted from her panic. I stared at nothing, my mind churning. I needed to call the company in Chicago, explain what happened. Try to reschedule, though I doubted they'd give me another chance after this disaster. I needed to call my parents, tell them we weren't on the flight, that we'd been kicked off, that everything had gone horribly wrong. I needed to figure out how we were getting home, since we certainly weren't flying. I needed to... A voice cut through my thoughts, a familiar voice, muttering angrily to itself. Damn it. How can I have a private jet and still have to wait? What kind of rubbish is this? What do I do now? I'm going to be late for my meeting. My head snapped up. That voice, I knew that voice, even after 7 years, Even after everything that had happened, I knew that voice. I turned slowly, my heart suddenly pounding for an entirely different reason. And there he was, sitting on a bench about 20 feet away, dressed in an expensive suit that probably cost more than my rent, staring at his phone with a frustrated expression on his handsome face. Timothy. No, it couldn't be, but it was. My breath caught in my throat. Timothy turned, probably feeling my stare, and our eyes met across the terminal, and we both froze, complete and utter stillness, like time itself had stopped. Maya? He said, his voice barely audible over the noise of the airport. But I heard it. I heard it as clearly as if he'd shouted, "Is that you?" He started walking toward me, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief and something else I couldn't quite name. "My goodness," he said as he got closer. "Maya, it's really you." I couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. After 7 years of wondering, of hurting, of hating him, here he was, standing right in front of me, looking exactly like I remembered, but somehow more mature, more polished, more handsome, if that was even possible. Still had those same dark eyes that had made me fall in love with him at 16. Still had that same voice that used to make my heart flutter. Still had that same presence that had drawn me in all those years ago. "Mommy?" Angel's voice broke the spell. "Do you know him?" Timothy's eyes moved to Angel for the first time, really seeing her, and I watched his face change, watched realization dawn slowly, like the sun coming up. "You have a daughter," Timothy said slowly, his voice strange. "Yes," I said, finding my voice at last. It came out dry, cold. "I have a daughter." "I didn't know," Timothy said, and there was something in his voice, regret, surprise, I couldn't tell. "Yes," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You couldn't have known. Could you?" An awkward silence fell between us. "It's been so long," Timothy said finally. "Where have you been? I tried to look for you, but you just vanished." "Well," I said, my voice tight with barely controlled emotion, "a lot happened. Life happened. The rich oppressed the poor. My family messed with a very powerful woman, and she dealt with us, and we had to move." Timothy's face went pale. "Really? Tell me more. What happened?" "You don't need to know," I said sharply. "Maya, what are you doing here in the city?" I asked, cutting him off. I didn't want to talk about the past, didn't want to open those wounds. "Oh yeah," Timothy said, seeming to gather himself. "I came for a business meeting and my private jet is running late and yeah, I'm going to leave for my meeting. The next flight is at 5 p.m., so I'm stuck here for hours." He paused, then asked, "What are you doing here?" "Well, I live here with my family and my parents." "Really?" Timothy looked surprised. "Wow, it's been such a long time." Another awkward pause. "Are you married?" Timothy asked, and the question seemed to cost him something. My fake smile, the polite one I'd been forcing, instantly wiped off my face. "That's none of your business, Timothy." And then Angel, sweet, innocent, completely oblivious Angel, did the worst possible thing. "No," she announced proudly. "She's not married, mister. She's a single mother, and I don't know my daddy. I've never met him. My daddy does not want me." I wanted to die. Right there. Just sink into the floor and disappear forever. Timothy turned to Angel, and the look on his face, it was something I couldn't quite read. Shock, sadness, regret. "What kind of man is that?" Timothy said softly, crouching down to Angel's level. "You're such a beautiful girl. Who wouldn't want you?" "That's enough, Angel," I said sharply, standing up and grabbing Angel's hand. "Don't talk to strangers, I told you." "But he's not a stranger, Mommy," Angel said, using that infuriatingly logical voice she had. "You're clearly talking to him." "That means you know him." "I don't know him," I snapped. "Well, I know you," Timothy said, standing up and facing me. His voice was softer now, more vulnerable. And I miss you. I have been looking for you. Things were really complicated back then, but you were nowhere to be found. Well, save your explanation, Mr. Timothy, I said coldly. It was nice meeting you today. I need to go. I tried to walk away, tried to end this conversation before it went any further, before my carefully constructed walls came crashing down. But Timothy stepped forward, his hand reaching out, not touching me, but stopping me nonetheless. Maya, wait. I stopped. Against my better judgment, I stopped. Timothy turned to Angel again. How old are you, sweetheart? I'm 6, Angel said proudly, always happy to talk about herself. 6 years, 3 months, and 2 weeks. I watched Timothy's face go through a series of rapid calculations, watched him count backwards, watched him remember, watched the realization hit him like a physical blow. He turned to Angel, his voice shaking. You don't know your daddy? You've never met him? No, Angel said, and now there was a hint of sarcasm in her 6-year-old voice that she definitely learned from me. I've never met the guy. I don't know, I guess he's running away from me. Timothy's face went white. He turned to me and the look in his eyes, it was desperate, almost frantic. Is she mine? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Is she my daughter? Maya, the timing is so perfect. Is she mine? I felt all the anger, all the hurt, all the pain of the last 7 years come rushing to the surface. What happened? Timothy continued, his voice rising. Did my mom do this to you? Did my mom make your dad lose his job? Because she threatened me, Maya. She took my phone. She told me your family relocated. Is she responsible for what happened to you? Because if she is, God knows I'm going to be so mad. That's in the past now, I said, my voice shaking. Everything that happened is in the past. It doesn't matter anymore. Angel is mine. And what happened has happened. So let's just go our separate ways. I'm not going our separate ways, Timothy said firmly. I have been looking for you. I never knew you were hiding in this city. I've been looking for you for years, and I'm not going to let you go. Not now, not when I finally found you. He looked at Angel again, and his voice cracked. And this child, I think she's mine. The timing is perfect. She has my eyes. Maya, she has my eyes. A DNA test can prove it. I found you now, and I'm not letting you go. I was pissed off, furious. All the years of anger I had felt toward Timothy came rushing to the surface like a tidal wave. Hey, Mr. Man, I said, my voice low and dangerous. I don't want us to create a scene here. Back off. I grabbed Angel's hand and literally dragged her toward the exit. Angel kept waving back at Timothy, her little hand moving frantically. Bye, Mr. Timothy. Mommy, why are you so mad? Angel asked as we pushed through the terminal, almost running to keep up with my angry strides. Did he do something to you? No, I said through gritted teeth. He didn't do something to me. Is it my daddy? Angel asked, her voice small now, sensing my anger. I don't know, I said. I don't know, Angel. What do you mean you don't know? It's a yes or a no. I don't know, Angel, I snapped, louder than I meant to. Please, I'm in a really bad mood. Can you give Mommy a break? Angel knew not to mess with me when I was angry. She'd learned that lesson early, so she stayed quiet for the rest of the cab ride home, just looking out the window with those big, thoughtful eyes of hers. This is not the end. Comment next episode if you want us to continue. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so by now. See you in the next one.